Maseches Bava Metzia. Maseches Bava Metzia, Daf Chafalef Amud Beis, in the famous sugya of Yiush, Shelo Mida'as. Yiush, Shelo Mida'as. They say Yiush, Shelo Mida'as. If you have Yiush, it's not because of das. The person that has das is no Yiush. Okay, so even before Yom Adin, we're not miyash. Says the Gemara, Toshma. Ve'leshoinois shel algaman. Yes. Toshma l'shoinois shel algaman. That's where we are. Line starts with the word Yoda Behu. Line starts with the word Yoda Behu, and it's like kind of in the middle of the page. Yeah, more or less in the middle of the page. Yeah, Yoda Behu, middle of the page. Toshma. Already questions. Oh, that was quick. Let me do my quick summary. Basically, Abayey and Rov had an argument regarding Yiush Shelo Mida'as, which means, let's say I repeat my case, and that is, I rest my case. Basically, if a person saw somebody losing something in the street, that kind of item does not have a siman. So eventually the person will be miyash. Eventually the person will be miyash, and I know it. But he wasn't yet miyash because he doesn't know that it fell in the pocket yet. Once he knows, he'll be miyash, or even if he won't be, according to Rov, most people will. It's a kind of item you don't really think will ever get back to you because your, two white tissues don't really have any interesting semen. I mean, the clean ones, yeah? So you're not going to really try and retrieve them. And therefore, says Abayey, if you take and grab it now, before the person knows about it, there was no Yiush yet. You didn't yet get the green light. And therefore, you're not allowed to take those items. And if you did, and let's say eventually comes and asks back, and everyone's going to ask, how come? Well, he was miyash. Well, maybe I know who is. If I know who is, and let's say that person stopped being miyash, let's say the person still has rejuvenated, force, and says, I would look for the tissues, or he suspects me that I found them. He says, did you find those tissues? I have to give it back to him. Why? Because Lamaise, they got liodi be'isu. They came to man's before the Yiush, and therefore it's also. Azoy zok tabayi. Rava says no. Rava says the way we explained it, it's not a din in the gavra, it's a din in the chefza, which means it's not about the person, it's about the item. An item who is very likely to be miyash, yiushable kind of item. That kind of item, says Rava, right from the start is a kind of item which I can take. And the whole Hishavas Bena doesn't apply to it even before the person was miyash. Yiush is only an indication. It's a siman and not a siba. In Lomdus terms, it's an indication, not a cause. Listen to this. Abayey says siba and Abayey siman. Abayey says Yiush is a cause. That's the button you have to press in order to operate the system. Until the Yiush button wasn't pressed, don't touch it, you Mr. Ganev. Yeah. And according to Rava, Yiush is an indication. Right? Because most people are miyash, that is indication that such an item is free for all right from the start, even before the person ever was miyash. That's Baruch Hashem, Baruch Hashem, Baruch Hashem. It's about the fifth time I learned the sugya, and Baruch Hashem, this time for me it's much clearer than any other time, even more than Kita Dalit. Now, and a few other times. Now, as you said correctly, Abayey does have these, I wouldn't say exceptions. Abayey is like a sliding scale, which means there are shades of gray in Abayey. Let's say there's an item, like we saw in the Mishnah, you found scattered coins in Rishus Harabim. Go to Merkaz Mischari, between all the shops, you see some scattered 10 shekel here, 5 shekel there. That's nice. So then you can take it. How do you know? How can you take it? According to Abayey, maybe the person was not yet miyash. Maybe the person is not yet aware that it fell from him. I know he will be miyash, because scattered money is translated into Yiush. So how can you take it? Says the Gemara, because a person always looks in his a person always rummages in his pocket, always, has his whatever credit card, or in this case, coins, that he constantly checks on them. And therefore, the assumption is that he already knew. It's true, it's an assumption, but it still goes with Abayey. Not that we say you can take it, listen carefully, not you can take it although he doesn't know. You can take it because we assume that he knows. Because there's such frequent testing, okay, it's also Chiddush, I agree, and people can say this and that, but Lamaisa, this is a tweak in Abayey. Rava says, go ahead and take it. I don't care what he knows. Anyhow, eventually, it's just a Yiush trying to bite them, and eventually he'll know. Says Abayey, no. A big nafkamina. What would be if I saw the person with my own eyes and I saw that it drops from his pocket 3 seconds ago, and he's not yet in the next job. Says Rove, go for it, man. Of course, I'm talking Mikra Din, yeah? Says Abayey, don't touch. Because I know that these particular mohos were not yet checked. There'll be enough community to buy in Rove. Okay. Now let's start the shir. Toshma. We continue to bring more cases from the Mishnah, and more cases. It's going to be a big match here between Abayey and Rove. Lashonis shel Argaman arei sheloi. Lashonis shel Argaman are tongues. Literally means tongues of red wool, which means what? These are basically pieces of strands, whatever you call them, pieces of wool that are nicely combed and dyed red. So red wool, as I said, the red is not a siman. It's as much a siman as you go to a kollel and you see a shirt in the corner that somebody forgot there. I don't know, after mikveh, and you say, I found a shirt, and the color is white. Oh, what a siman. Can you think of a better siman than that? I can't, it's a white shirt, yeah? Says Tim McKenzie, who just visits the neighborhood for the first day. It's not a siman. Okay, that's all very nice, but there's no siman. But how can you categorically just come and take it straight away? We're attacking Abayey, the Amai. Why? He didn't know that it fell from him, right? The Mishnah doesn't differentiate about time, right? Grab them straight away. That sounds like Rava. Even though he doesn't know that it fell, or very likely doesn't yet know, and yet you can take them straight away. That's good with Rava and not good with Abayey. According to Abayey, should have said, no, wait another whole day or two, or wait until you assume, or till you know that he was Miyash. Answers the Gemara the same kind of answer. Hosam Nami, there too. Agav the Chashivi, because Lashon Sharagaman are important, expensive, it's an expensive item. He feels them all the time. He keeps, you have something expensive by you, sometimes you carry a big, large amount of money in an envelope every once in a while, in the airplane, in the train, you make sure it's there. The Shana Shel Argaman are constantly being checked, yeah? And therefore, Ukader Yitzchak, just like Rabbi Yitzchak, which was quoted before and will be quoted later, and that is that when it's constantly being checked. By the way, we spoke yesterday about Igulit Vela, about foodstuff, Igulit Vela and bread, and we said because they're heavy, the person feels quite quickly, rather soon, yeah, after the event that it fell. Other Meforshim say, I saw another Ishani because it's foodstuff. Food, when you take food with you, usually if it's missing because you eat it, that's another reason. Toshma, another brisa, and again, a question. I think the question will be on Abayey. Let's see. A person found money. The boss say, a person found money in a shul or in a besmedrash, in a kollel, yeshiva, besmedrash. Okay, found some money. Okay. Or any other place which is very public, train station, Lahavdil, I don't know, Reb Chaim Kanievsky's house back then, lots of people are there. Then the money belongs to you because it's a very public place. So people say, oh, Tachana Merkazit, and shamefully, you have to cough politely. Even the Besmedrash, Besakneses, the person is Miyash. Why is he Miyash? Because he says, I don't think everybody's honest over here and people give me back my money. Some people say because there are goyim who go in there, the cleaners. The Gemara says in Avodah Zarah, don't say this to the wife because the women, they don't like to hear this, but it's true. The Gemara says, Roiv Gan v'Yisrael. The Gemara says it in Avodah Zarah, most thieves are Jews. Doesn't mean statistically most thieves in the world are Jewish. It means in an area when you have Jews and non-Jews, don't assume that if it was stolen, it's Dafka Goy. In Jewish culture, we like to say if there's a theft, it's for sure an Arab, for sure a thing. Says the Gemara, don't feel too good about ourselves. So it's likely that a Jew may steal also. Why? You can ask quite a good question. Why? So now, 1 second, please. I'll be with you in a minute. Now, I have a question. I go first. Yeah, sorry. And that is, what do you mean? We said already in the Mishnah that scattered money, you're miyush, right? So who cares whether it's a public place? It's Kilo Bryce is Machadish. Because it's public, even in shul, even in the holy shul, because people may take it. Okay, that's a question. Toisus doesn't ask my question, but his answer answers my question, and that is, even if you found the money derech chinuach, even if you found the money pyramid-shaped, yeah, with a siman, or derech chinuach, not scattered. What did the Mishnah say? Scattered coins, there's no siman. He just scattered all over. It looks like I don't know what, the map of Oceania. Mashenken, if it's something that's pyramid shaped or shaped like a duck, I don't know, some nice tsura from all the coins, avada, that is a siman. In the Beskneses and Makomos, which are tzibur, which are public, it's so bad because he so doesn't trust people's honesty that even if the money is positioned that way, he's still miyash. If it's not urgent, I'd like to continue the question or quick, yeah, because we're in the middle, but yeah, okay. That's a chicken and egg, but what was the halacha created like that? Halacha was created because we assume he's miyash because he doesn't trust the people, because he assumes people are gonovim, not because. I'm asking the question, why do you have to No, because positive would say, I would assume people do return it if they're learning Besmedrash and in Koilol, and therefore there is no Yiush, and therefore I should give it back to him because it's a non-Yiush chayfetz. One member brings the other. Yeah, go quick. No. The Gemara still understand that you check your money all the time in your pocket. As you can, right? Absolutely beautiful, beautiful. So now, Frag the Gemara, Frag the Gemara, he didn't yet know in the Besmedrash, he doesn't yet know that it fell from him. Wow. Why do we talk about Besmedrash? You know why? Because the person, we assume, is still sitting and learning there. When it's down the street, you walk all the time, right? Here, the person is sitting and learning or davening or waiting for the bus or something, and still, maybe the guy's still there. Maybe the guy's still there in the 15th chakras in the minion factory. Maybe go and look. And still we say you can take it straight away. Wow, that is a chiddush, and that's again against Ellen, like you said very nicely, against Abayey and forever. And says the Gemara, Rabbi Yitzchak, here's the original Rabbi Yitzchak they quoted all the time. Here's the real man. Even when he's learning or davening. Not that this is recommended, chas v'shalom. This is not a good thing to do. But a person, like, every once in a while, when he's not very shakua in tefillah or in Torah, a person always makes sure when it's money that to make sure it's still there frequently enough for us, says Abayey, to assume that he did check on it. I know it's a chiddush, and again, we're not learning in Hilchos Tefillah, so we assume that the person checks every once in a while, not that we are okaying it, but we're just being practical. And therefore, in such a case, we say that a person is memashmesh, not that he starts counting the money in the middle of davening, but he feels the pocket. He wants to feel that, the bump in his trousers is still there. And therefore, Abayey says he knows. We assume that he knows, and therefore was miyash. That's how we can take it. Toshma. Oh, like Jeffrey said, here comes what you said yesterday. You said that our sugya also has to do with leket, and that's exactly it. What does leket mean? Let's see. What's leket? Leket means if a person is one of the three matnois ani, one of the three gifts you give poor people in the field. Leket means if the farmer or the workers they reap the harvest, and then two stalks fell from their hands as they were reaping and holding it. Two stalks fell. They're supposed to leave it there, not pick up two stalks. If it's more than two, from the third one onwards, you're supposed to keep for yourself. The first two you leave for the anim lelaket. Lelaket means to glean. Toshma comes the brisa, which I think is actually a mishnah in Peah. When comes there is a moment. The question is when. When every person, even a rich man, rich doesn't mean Bill Gates. Rich means that he's not an oni. Yeah, he's not in the anim club that are eligible to it. And now this person, a regular guy, at some point is allowed to take the shibolim, those stalks, the wheat and barley that fell from the hands of the kotrim, because at some point we assume that what's their names, the anim or miyash. At some point, the anim, they look all over. At some point, the anim said, okay, goodbye, we're going to the next field. And I sat in the side, and they're miyash. I'm a regular rich guy, but I still want to have a quick, something for free. I like a freebie. I can go and take the leket because once they're miyash, I'm allowed to take. They have the first round. They have the right of way. Once they gave up, I can come in. Me, the rich guy. When is that point? When does that happen? Says the Mishnah. Once the nemushois, once they walk through the field, after they did the rounds, the nemushos, then anybody else and everybody else can come and pick the leket. Everyone's asking, what's the nemushos? Okay, I'll tell you. And we say, now we move from Mishnah to Amiroim. Say the Amorim, my Nemushois. Can you please translate Nemushois? Yeah, without art scroll. V'amar Rabbi Yochanan, M'chlekas Rabbi Yochanan Reish Lakish. Says Rabbi Yochanan, Savi de Azli Atigram. These are old men. They're old and they are bored and they have sticks and they walk with a stick and they walk slowly with a stick and they check each and every nook and cranny. They check each and every centimeter. Once they did their thorough checkup, they checked the field so well, they're not rushing anywhere. Those poor old people, after they've been through the thorough scanning of the field, then all the other anim assume that we're not going to find anything. If they didn't find, we're not going to find. Say the other anim, and yet I have eagle's eyes, I have hawk's eyes, and I, the usher, the rich man, I stood in the corner. Once the nemushas went, I can assume that the anim were already miyash, okay? And therefore, I can now go and take the leket myself. Rish Lakish Omar. Rish Lakish has a different translation to Nemushois. Likuti basar likuti. Likuti basar likuti means there were already a few rounds of anim. Not necessarily thorough. It's not quality, it's quantity. There are 2 rounds, or at least 2 rounds of anim have been through that section of the field checking twice. Once twice was checked, the other anim are miyash. This is, by the way, good with Abayey too. We assume that they were miyash. Yeah, they're high assumption they were miyash. And therefore now, even the rich people, if they find a leket, they can take. Practically more so far so good. But the Gemara is now being like, damai, why? Nehi danim dehocha miyashi, although danim over here are miyash, and we know that they're miyash because the field has been scanned thoroughly, and they say, okay, we're giving up, and that's after Yiush, and Abayey and Rov are so friendly now. Ika anim b'duch tachrita. The anim in a different duchta, the anim in a different city. The anim of what? The anim of wherever, of Bet Shemesh already gave up. But the anim of Beitar, the lo miyashi, are not miyash. Why? Because these anim don't know that there was the likuti basar likuti. And you understand? Our anim in Bet Shemesh field saw that already the nemushas came through, whatever nemushas means. There was already thorough checkup. But the anim of Beitar, they don't know. So that's Yiush Mida'as. Had they known that this field had been through already 2 checkups with old people, whatever, they'd be miyash. But the nearby Beta, they don't know. There is no WhatsApp groups, between the anim, and there is no email or phone. They don't have money for a phone. Yeah, or maybe back then there were no phones in the times of the Gemara. I'm not sure. Yeah, but they're not miyash. So this is really Yiush Mida'as. If they knew, they would be miyash. Thank you. It's Yiush Mida'as, and yet we see that it is Yiush. I, who live in Bet Shemesh and I'm rich, I could take it. So you see again against Abayey and pro Rova. And says the Gemara, Amri, they say no. Because there's anim over here, the Beitar anim know that the Bet Shemesh anim were tough guys. They know that the anim over here are here and they control the area. Hanach, those mikora yushimiyash. They're already miyash to begin with. The Beitar anim, they don't come to Bet Shemesh b'chlal. Because no, Bet Shemesh has its own set of anim, its own mafia of anim over here, and they take care. What happens if you enter the area controlled by one mafia, you belong to another mafia? They tell, excuse me, if you don't mind, go away. Right, nicely, right? They don't shoot you or anything, right? So in any event, it's not a mafia. We're talking about an area controlled by the anim of this one. So Mimela, they never had their eyes on that place to begin with. They're not part of the equation. The Amri, they say anim da'osim. They assume already, the anim from Beitar assumed the dos of Bet Shemesh already took it anyways. In other words, the anim of a different place, they don't play a role over here. It's not a part of the equation, so don't ask me from there, says Abayey. So we only look at the local population, and they were really miyash. They were properly miyash, or we highly assumed that they were. Yeah, and therefore you can be malaket because it's been through the nemushas. Toshma, come in here. Ketzios baderech. What happens if you drive down the road, not down the road, near an orchard, a kind of agricultural place with all kinds of, places where there's orchard and, trees grow with fruit. Ketzios baderech. You see dried figs on the way, which means there are on the way the afilu b'tzad sdek ketzios. You happen to see, let's say there's a field of dried figs that are being dried, or trees of fig, could either be either or, and you see figs next to the field. Yeah, let's imagine yourself you driving over here. On the sides of the road, you see figs that just fell. They're there, look like they're fallen. Yeah, you don't know who it belongs to. And even though you can highly assume that they came from the field next door, there's a road. The side of the road has like fallen figs all over there, here and there scattered fallen figs. And on the other side, further from your car, there's what? There's a proper field, or either a field of them being dried, or an orchard of figs. Oh, here, yeah, you saw, for example, a fig tree which is like inclining like this towards the way. You know, it's like swaying and bent over the road. You found te'enim under the tree. I would say these te'enim belong to the fig tree owner. This is owned by someone. This is Moshav Chizkiyahu, I don't know, something, yeah? And therefore, says the Mishnah, Mutaros, wow, Mutaros Mishum Gezel, you're allowed to take them. There's no problem, Gezel. Go take the te'enim, check them very well from bugs, please. Check the te'enim, eat the te'enim, upturos mina meiser, and also the potter from meiser. You don't have to take meiser. Why don't you have to take meiser? Because meiser does not have to be taken from hefker. If somebody was mafker his fruit, a meiser doesn't have to be taken. I want to explain something over here. We assume right now that there was Yiush. You don't know that the guy was Mi'ash. Maybe he doesn't know that the fig actually fell. He is now sitting and learning in this meadow. He's now dealing with his business inside the house, the farmer. Maybe he lives in Tel Aviv, Bichlal. What happens next? We right away assume that you can take the te'enim. You can take the te'enim. That sounds like who? Like Rava. I don't know he was Mi'ash. I assume he was Mi'ash because they assume, not even I assume he's Mi'ash. Wrong. Oh, I made the same mistake, which I correct other people. Not that I assume. Even if he doesn't know, because he will know, because we know that te'ena is something that will probably be snatched away. It's on the side of the road. You think that he thinks everybody's so honest? No. So this guy, the owner of the field, will be miyash eventually. Go for it right now, says the Mishnah about te'enim supporting Rava. Why did I stop in the middle of my sentence? Because we spoke about meiser. Meiser has to do with the hefker. Now listen to the very important definition. Yiush and hefker are not the same. However, Yiush causes hefker, which means when a person is miyash, Yiush is a feeling. Yiush is not officially a transaction. He's oy vey, I lost it. I will never see these figs again. Oy, 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 oy. I need psychological treatment. Oh, my beloved figs are away and they're gone forever. That's Yiush. However, once the person is miyash, it creates a halachic, so to speak, transaction action called hefker. So if the person was miyash, it became hefker through Yiush, through the back door. To any that are hefker, I don't have to take meiser. I can tell my kinderlach, children, let's go for the figs. I don't care if he knows about it or not. I hold the problem. Yeah, so says the Mishnah at the beginning. But now it gets tricky. If the same thing exactly would happen to olives or carob trees, if you don't know what they are, you should just walk down the street. All the streets are full of carobs at the park. Those brown, sword-shaped thing, yeah? So zeisim v'charuvim, it's also to take. Why? Like Abayey. Rabbis, this Mishnah seems to be kiviyachol schizo. The beginning is like Rava, and the end of the Mishnah about te'enim, about figs. The end, zeisim v'charuvim, seems to be like Abayey. Says if it's olives or charuvim, don't touch, because you don't know that he lost hope yet. You don't know that he knows about it yet, and therefore don't touch, because Yiush lo Mida'as lo Yiush. So this Mishnah is contradicting itself. It's half Abayey, half Rava, half Abayey. What's going on over here? Explains the Gemara, and finally Abayey is beginning to make headway. Guys, yeah, it's happening, yeah. The Reisha about the Te'ena is not difficult for Abayey. How can you take the Te'enim before him knowing that the Te'ena ever fell? Abayey says, I'm cool about it, because Abayey has his golden rule that applies here too. Just like Agav de Chashivim Mashmash Behu, just like when you walk with the Merkaz Mischari, with your, many shekels in your pocket, you keep feeling them back and forth. Te'ena Nami, because Te'ena is expensive and chushev a thing, the Te'ena is important, made the Yadiyah Denatra, he knows that it fell. In other words, there's very periodical, more than periodical, very frequent checkup about the Te'ena, Pain is an expensive thing. Like today, they grow in Israel mango, expensive fruit. Yeah, pineapple. Yeah, this is expensive. He can't just, let it fall and hope for the best. He sends his workers, he sends his foreman, or he sends himself to check on the teina every once in a while. And therefore, he knows that it fell. Yeah, and Mimela, but he's Meyash. In other words, so he says, next time look after it better. I don't know, I didn't pick it up himself. Maybe it was a worker. Lamaisa, he knows that it fell, and he was Meyash. He was Meyash because it says, sadly, not everyone is so honest. Yeah. Okay. Sorry about that. Okay. Rakrega. And therefore, Abayey, Yiush Mida'as, Yiush Mida'as, lo Yiush. But the Zaysim Charuvim that are cheap, he doesn't know that they fell. So it wasn't yet Miyash. He will be, not yet. And therefore, don't touch them. But the Te'enim at the beginning, they're expensive, so he knows that they fell. He cares about them more, and he was already Miyash. That's all very nice. Ela Seifa. But the Seifa, now Rava is in trouble for the first time. Ela Seifa lo Kasha. But the Seifa is difficult with Rava, and there's no easy answer. Diktani, it says in the Seifa, Zaysim Charuvim also. Why? Zaysim v'charuvim, what do we assume now? That the person doesn't know that they fell, right? He will know eventually, will be miyash, because he doesn't trust, human beings anymore. So it's also, why? Rava says the things he will be miyash, it's as if the Yiush starts now. The Yiush applies all the time. How does Rava live with the second part of the Brisa? Amar Rabbi Abo, and now we have to make a complete turnabout, a complete turnaround, according to Rava, the entire understanding of the whole business here. Ela Amar Rabbi Abo. No, it doesn't say Ela, and actually I'm not. Amar Rabbi Abo. Shiny Zeiss. Zeiss is different. Listen to this. This is a new rule in agriculture, which I never knew. Zeiss is different to other fruit. Different Zaysim look different. Apparently, the Zaysim of Reuven did not look like the Zaysim of Shimon. Every orchard, or whatever you call them, every grove, every area of Zaysim that grow, they look different. They look different, which means there's a siman. The Zayis of Reuven, the entire world knows that this is the Zayis of Reuven. The Afalgav the Notran Zaysi, even though the Zaysim fell, made the idea, Duchta the Inish, people know the Duchta, the place of the man, Inish who. Everybody in the area know that the Zaysim of Reuven look with that Reuven kind of shape, which means he's not miyash because there is a siman. We kept saying all the time that the farmer is miyash because he says nobody will give it back to me. No, because those zaysim fall and people know that these are Reuven zaysim, either they'll be honest and give it back to him, or if he notices that they're missing, he'll be toveh. Where are my zaysim? You should have given back to me because there is a siman, right? They live in this farmer's community. Where are my zaysim? Says Reuven. Everybody knows my zaysim have that, I don't know, pear-shaped or something, and therefore, but this simply there is no Yiush. Don't attack me from the Sefer Zaysim v'Charuvim because you cannot take them, although he will be Meyash. He won't be Meyash, ever. That's why, says Rava, says the Mishnah, according to Rava, you are not allowed to touch them because Rava says things that have a siman, my rule doesn't apply. It's not yesh b'reira. It's not like Rava is always being retroactive. No, if there's a siman, don't touch. There's a siman, simple. It's a chiddush that Zaysim have a siman. Thank you, that's a chiddush. If so, wait a second. So why did you say that by the figs, by the figs, it's different, and by the figs you're telling me that you can take them? Why? Don't we say that the figs have different shape one from the other? One orchard from the other one of Shimon? Yes, but, says the Gemara, Omar of Papa, te'enim nifilosanim eses. The te'ena, once it falls, we all know figs are soft. As opposed to zaysim, the original ones in the tree are hard, and also the carrots are hard, hard fruit. The shenk and the te'ena is soft. Once it falls, it becomes most disgusting. It becomes gross. And therefore, because it's all touched, it's soft, and being touched by the earth is meyash to begin with. Even mafkir is mafkir completely. The bugs come even more. And therefore, in such a case, everyone agrees, says Rove, that you are allowed to take it because it's African. In other words, according to your Rove, it's very interesting. According to Rove, neither the Reisha nor the Seifa spoke about the classical case of Yiush. He's not miyash in either case. In the case of Zais and Charuvim, the Seifa He wants it. I have a siman. My zaysim cheruvin look different than the other ones. Where is they? Where are they? And he's not meyash, so don't touch them. Masha'inka, in the case of the te'ena, he's mafkir. It's more than Yiush. He deliberately knows any te'ena that falls is so who wants to even look at it. If you're not an istinist, you want to take the te'ena, wash it very well with bleach. You're the one driving in the car with your kids. Sir, take it. I, the farmer, I'm not going to touch it anymore. Masha'inka and Abayey is good. Abayey follows his own opinion. This is the case of Yiush Mida'as and loy havi Yiush. Ellen was first this time. By the way, pace-wise, we finished yesterday's Amud now. Okay, Ellen and then Baruch. Oh, Toshma. Yeah. Toshma. Haganev. Oh, let's have a quick. Yeah, let's revisit Bava, but just for a moment. Toshma. Haganev shenotal mizeh v'nosan lezeh. You know Robin Hood? He's a thief. He comes in the middle of the night. He's a ganev, not a gazlan. Different. A ganev is a guy who is a scaredy cat, and he goes in the middle of the night. He steals from one and gives the other. Okay. A gazlan took from one and gave the other. Okay. 1 second. I have to pause now. Oh, I should have been ready because 1 second. 1 minute. I have to now stop a second for technical reasons. A Ganav comes in the middle of the night and he's scared of everybody. A Gazlan is a person who doesn't even cover his face. He's a town sheriff. Where? In Ukraine or America. Yeah, he steals, yeah, and nobody will tell him what to do. He steals from you and he's absolutely unabashed. He's not scared of the law. That's a Gazlan. And he took from one and gave to the other. He wants to do justice, yeah? A river, for example, the Jordan River, that took from one and gave to the other, yeah, which means, let's say you live near, I don't know, Tveria, but that kind of part of the Yarden, and the Yarden swept away, the thing drifted away your item, and somebody near Yamamelech found it, okay, so it went from you and got to the other person. What's the common denominator between all these three things? Mashenotal, notal, umashenosan, nosan. Oh, but the Eved, let's assume that there's Yiush, and there is Yiush. Why is there Yiush? Because when a person is faced by Gazlan, he says, I'll never see my wallet again. The guy comes to you with a gun, with face uncovered. You give it to me, money or life. Yeah? Then what? Then you give him the money, you value your life, and you're not going to see it again. But if you complain to the police, they'll give it to you within a few minutes. I'm joking. Yeah? So then you'll never see it again. What about the Yarden? Same thing. The Yarden, the river took away my stuff, swept it away, swamped it away. So therefore, it's not going to be mine ever. I'm Meyash, so that's good. Okay, that's good with the buyer too. So if I am the one who's receiving on the other side, and now Yiush, let's say Yiush alone is koine. Remember Vivakama? There are such shittas. Yiush alone without shinui reshus, without shinui that. Yeah, and by the way, it could also be shinui reshus when it reaches the hand of the other person. I am allowed to keep it, not a mitzvah. And I'm not talking about buying from the Gazlan, which may be lifnei iver, v'chulei, but b'di'eved, once the Gazlan gave it to me or the Ganev gave it to me, I'm allowed to keep the item. There are many ifs and buts over there, but I'm not learning Bava now. Conceptually, because there was Yiush, and let's say Yiush is the name of the game, post Yiush, I can hold the chayfetz, which I know is a machlokas. But let's, right? Now, frag the Gemara, wait. I avoided one of the three cases on purpose. Frag the Gemara. Bishlam, a Gazlan, the Yarden, the Gazlan who takes it away from you by force, or the Jordan River or any other river, the Mississippi River takes you. Rashi says the Yarden is mentioned because that Tana lived near the Yarden. So that's what he mentions as an example. The Kachazilu, Umiyash, he sees the guy with his face taking it away from him, that guy who fears nobody. He sees the river sweeping away the item. He's Miyash knowingly. So now everything is good for Abayey and Rava. Ela Ganev, Mikachazile de Miyash. A Ganev he didn't see. The Ganev, let's say somebody stole from you something in the middle of the night. It wasn't a burglary. You wake up in the morning, the house looks like a mess. Yeah? Elamai, what is it? It's a guy who stole from you. Sometimes people realize stuff was stolen from them 2 months later. Yeah? Some diamond ring. She wears the diamond ring twice a year. For the Yomim Tovim and for Pesach. Yeah? So it was stolen in Cheshvan. will take her 4 months or more to realize that her diamond ring was stolen, right? So if so, why are you telling me that a ganev, the person was miyash, again, bishlam if you that's classical Yushal Mida'as, right? Bishlam if you she will know the diamond ring was stolen by the ganev, and she will be miyash. You can take it already now. But the ganev gave it to you, take it now. There was Yiush. Ki'ilu there was Yiush. But according to Abayey, no. The Ganav, you don't know that the Ganav took it from you necessarily, and sometimes theft can be discovered after a long time. So how come Lafi Abayey already now it can take it? Meaning B'diavad from the Ganav. How come it's already post Yiush if Yiush did not really kick in because he doesn't know? He doesn't know it was stolen necessarily. And here we're not talking dafka about expensive items or heavy items or these. Here Rav Papa explains, Belisti Mezuyon. We're talking here about an armed robber. So we just said that. With his face covered. Aha. Which means like this. When we said Ganav, we did not mean the guy who comes in the middle of the night or comes, behind the scenes, behind the thing, or behind the computer, thefts that are, elegant and quiet. Those thefts, enochinami, according to Abayey, you're not allowed to take from a Ganav unless you know that the person was miyash, which may not be the case, says Abayey, sticking to his guns. You know which Ganav we talk about? We're talking about a guy who is at the same time hidden and discovered. Meaning, in other words, we're talking here about a Ganav in the sense that his face is covered. His face is covered. He's a list in Mizuin. His face is covered. So I don't know who he is. So that's why I can call him Ganav. On the other hand, of course I know there was a theft. He came to me with a gun in the middle of Manhattan. How do I know? Of course I know. It was an armed a robbery. Elamai, it's called Ganav. It goes under the title of Ganav because he's not known and he's scared of the police more than he's scared of Hashem. Frag the Gemara, Yachainu Gazlan. If so, that's Gazlan. What's the difference? With face covered or without? Lamaisi is a Gazlan. He snatched it by force. And says the Gemara, true, Treg Avni Gazlan. We have two types of Gazlan. We have Gazlan and Gazlan Ganav. Gazlan, face uncovered, big muscles, and a nice Italian last name, and he takes it by force. Nobody cares. The head of the police, he's the head of the police. That's his brother. He doesn't care. That's a Gazlan. That's one case for sure. You may eye straight away. The Ganev / Gazlan is a guy who's called a Ganev because he's scared, but you know about the theft. If you know about the theft, Avada Abayey would say that's called classical Yiush. You were even Abayey would say, everyone would say there was Yiush. There was Yiush. After Yiush, Mida'as. Thank you. Oh, that's what I should have. Thank you, Baruch. There was Yiush Mida'as. Of course, everyone agrees I can take I can take the item and keep it to myself. And yet, can tell his wife, I got you something for your birthday. Toshma. Where did you get it from? Don't ask questions. Toshma. This one is, I wouldn't say complicated. What? Yeah. Toshma. Don't say it to her. Toshma. Now, this brisa is not hard, but it's one of these brisas that you have to read the whole thing in order to understand the beginning. Yeah, it's one of these things that are no questions, not because it's North Korea, because it's probably the questions will be answered as we go along. Toshma. Here for the third time we see the same concept. Shotaf Noho. The river, how do you say in good English? Swept it away? No. Washed away. There's flooded and just washed away without flooding. Regular stream of the river, and he washed it away. Thank you. He washed away your thing. Yeah, sometimes it's a flood and sometimes no. Let's say somebody had a house next to the river, little house not in the prairie, little house next to the river, and something happened that the house collapsed, and now the river naturally, with or without flooding, lavdavka, started, sweeping away, taking away, washing away the items of your house. Shataf nohor, koirov eitzav ve'avonov. Let's say the river washed away your house. The house collapsed. Mazel tov. The beams, the eitzim, the stones, the bricks of the house, or part of it, were swept away, were washed away by the river. And they ended up in your friend's field. Your friend lives down the river, down the other side of the stream of the river, the root of the river, and it ended up by him and stopped by him. By him, there's like a swamp or something and stopped by him. The friend, I'm not such a good friend, Me'ikradin can keep it. By the way, people, I want you to know that all the cases where we say you can keep the Aveda, at least from what I've seen in Shulchan Aruch, Lifnim Mishuras Adin, you should try and give it back. Yeah? In most cases. Sometimes there are cases, Oni and Osher, we'll talk later. Me'ikradin, but the letter of the law, I can keep it. Why? If Nation is Yashua Bailim. The Bailim were Miyash. Why were the Bailim Miyash? Because, says Rashi, something like a house that fell, if your house collapsed, you wake up in the morning and you kind of know it, right? Like, I think there were walls around me last night, kind of. I think there was a roof, if I'm not mistaken. Like, I didn't know that this was some kind, exotic camping experience. The Kabbalan said it's a good building. That would never happen in Israel. No, I'm saying science fiction, yeah? But the Kabbalan promised a high quality building, and somehow, I don't know why, where am I? The whole thing, and also you can see that the river is washing it away. Says Rashi, there's call, there's voice to it. Even if I'm not in the house right now, I'm on vacation or live somewhere else, of course people will tell me about it very quickly, right? In other words, this is something that the person knows that it happened. I know that an entire house or parts of it are big pieces, for construction, if they're swept away, if they're washed away, that's a well-known thing. Therefore, the other guy on the other side of the river can say, I know. It's more than an assumption. It's a high assumption, which is good with Abayey. I kind of know that such big things, even if I'm not from the receiving side, I'm the recipient. I'm on the other side of the river. Oh, good morning. All these beams and stones are, being swept away, being washed away into my yard. Yeah, I can keep them, highly assuming that the person who lost them already knows. That is only true if the Bailim were Miyash. Stoma loy. But now here stoma means not that he doesn't know about that. Let's say these are other items. Let's say the item that you see coming to you through the field, the good river, the good river comes and gives you an old baby buggy. An old baby buggy, how do you call it in American? Baggy, the carriage, whatever, what do you carry the babies in? The baby buggy. Yeah. What? A pram, you know what I mean? Yeah. Upset. And now that pram, not necessarily, maybe the guy on the other side of the river has a baby once every 3 years. Yeah. He doesn't necessarily know, and his youngest is 3. So he doesn't, and he no birth yet. It's not such a known thing to him, Dafka, that the old baby buggy is missing. Something can be missing from my house. I don't even know about it because we hardly use them. It's a Pesach dishes. Yeah. In other words, other items that are not very, well known to be swept away straight away, those things you cannot take. Oh, so what do you see? As long as the person doesn't know about it or not assumed to know about it, if I am on the other side of the river and the gift I received through the river is something that is not with coal, it's not something very famous, it's some rubber ducky, a small thing, that I cannot take it. Who is now happy? Who's on the horse now? Abayey, who? Yeah, Abayey. So what do we see? A stomaloi. Oh, so Lichar Abayey is right. Rava, you have anything to say? Says the Gemara. I know you do. No, please. This Gemara has to be one piece. Unless I have a very quick idea. Answers the Gemara. Says Rava, we're talking here that the person really was never miyash because he could have saved it anyways. He could have saved it either by running after maybe the river is not so quick. The river is meandering, how do you say? Meandering, meow. Let's say the river is meandering in very slow moving river, like this. So maybe the person actually can save it. In other words, says Rava, similar to his answer from before, leave me alone, says Rava. This is a case where Pashut, the person can save the item, and that's why he's not Meyash. Yiush. But here's not Meyash at all. In other words, the other items that are not Koros, that are not Koros that he's Meyash, which is a question, leave them alone for the minute. Now, let's say that's a baby buggy, what the baby buggy, Yochalatzil can save it. That's why. I can save it myself, so I'm never Meyash. That's why the guy down the river, in the case, if it's not Eitz of Korov, it's not a famous thing, if it's another thing, he should not keep it. You should give it to me, save it, and try and be machriz, because there's no use, because the first person who lost it can actually run after it, or maybe as a siman. maybe can't run, but let's say he knows the guy on the other side of the river. And let's say that baby buggy has a siman in it. It has a red mark and it says with pink polka dots. He can save it. If so, I already have many questions, but I'm keeping them to myself. If so, frag the Gemara, okay, Rava, you're saying that just no Yiush, there's a siman. Okay, aim a seifa. Look at the seifa. Says the seifa, Im hoya bailim radfin achreim, if the bailim are mamish running after it. Let's say you mamish, practically, you don't assume assumptions. You mamish see that the owner runs after it. They run after the items that are swept away, washed away. Chayv lahachzir. Then when you came to your field, you have to be machzir. Because why? Because you know that the mamish run after it. Not potentially there's a siman, or potentially they assume that it will be stuck somewhere in the river. Only if they're panting and running, showing we want that back, then you have to give it back. Hey, wait a minute. If it's the queue, you say the buggy has a siman. I'm calm. I'm drinking my coffee. I saw that the McLaren was washed away, and what? And I can actually save it by what? By giving a siman, because it says on it ATWB with a red polka dot there. Yeah. So why do you dafka say that they're running after it? I feel even if they're not running after it, right? The mere fact that there's a siman, or the trust the other guy, or any kind of general siman. So even without running, what's running have to do with anything? Why dafka running after the item shows that they're not miyash, according to you, Rava, who claim there is no yush anyways, right? Because why? Because really there's a siman, which is Rava's line of defense for the second time already. And says the Gemara, and you know the story is, they can be matzil alidei adchak, which means they could be matzil, but how do you say in English? Alidei adchak, with difficulty. Oh, simple English, but difficulty. They could be matzil, but it's going to be difficult. In other words, let's say I know the guy the other side of the river. This guy is semi-honest. In Elul is honest. Before Shishon is honest. If I don't run miradfin lo ayush, if I run after it now and I quickly tell him, hey, mister, I know that right now, that a minute ago, my baby buggy came to you, that shows that it's not a yush. Because it can be matzil, alidei adchak, with difficulty. If I quickly act quick, he'll give it back to me, right? Or the siman may fade away. Waiting is not good. It's some kind of situation where if the other guy buys time, that's not good for me. So if I run after it, then I show that I'm not meyash. I show that I'm really trying to use the siman, the difficult siman or difficult situation, to overcome it ASAP. And that's not defined as Yiush only if I run after it. Ein meradfin Yiush meyash. If the person who lost it does not run away, if he drinks the coffee nicely and saying, it's a situation, if you wait, you're going to lose it, and you're not acting now, that shows you gave up. That is another way of showing you gave up. So let's reread according to Rava. Now we have to read the whole thing according to Rava. So again, I'm going back to the beginning, Toshma. Shotef nor korv etzav avonov. He swept away those items that are well known, that everybody knows belong to Reuven. They belong to who? To the second guy who found it. Mipnei shenisyashu abaylim. On those things, the Bailim are miyash, because the Bailim know, and the Bailim is miyash. Now, I think this is according only to who? To Abayey. According to Rava, what would Rava say? Why are they miyash? They're miyash because we're talking here that the Bailim did not run away. They did not run after it. Did not pursue. Did not run after the thing. If they didn't run after it, there is a siman. There is a siman here, but the siman is questionable. The guy down the road is honest when he woke up the right side of the bed. So then, if I don't run after it, that shows Yiush. The She'enkin continues the Seifa, and I'm jumping a few lines. If the Bailim ran after it, then I have to give back, says Rava. Why? That shows they're not Miyash. But according to Rava, again, the stories, was there Yiush or wasn't there Yiush? So Rava says, I'm very good. We're talking about a thing that has a siman. Even the chorus Eitzim Balbani may have a siman according to the new reading. It's my house. I know that I had these mahogany special beams and those special Yerushalmi stones. I have a siman. I have a siman. Maybe the siman is not so good, or the person not so honest. So then depends on my behavior. If I run after it right away, that shows I wasn't miyash, give it back to me right now. And if I'm not running, I'm drinking my coffee, thinking, schminking, that shows Yiush, because in such a situation, the siman is not top siman, it's not a very good matzav, and therefore in that case, if I don't run after it, I'm going to lose it. And if I don't run, I show I don't care to lose, which is called in French Yiush. That's who? That's Rove. Now Abayey is better. Abayey Poshet reads it simply. Abayey has a simple reading. Abayey says the core of Etzav Avonim, it's all Yiush. Abayey says there is no siman. Very similar, by the way. If you follow well the words here and the ones with the story of the figs and the carobs and the zesim, it's a very similar case. In both cases, Abayey says there is Yiush, right? Shelo Mida'as. So as long as Yiush Shelo Mida'as, lo have Yiush, don't touch it. Yeah. If once it was miyash, it's fine. For example, shotaf nor korav etzav avonov. I know that the thing was washed away, and what? And there is no siman according to Abayey. There is Yiush, and the Yiush already came because I know about it, and I was miyash. Oh, my house fell apart. Chas v'shalom. Washed away. Look at that, dear. I didn't know. Whoop. Went away. I'm miyash. No siman. Good, because I already know. Only if I run after it, that shows that I'm really interested. Yeah, then I was really not miyash. Metzia, I wasn't miyash at all. As long as I'm not miyash, Abayey will be the one to say that the other guy's not allowed to touch it. The Sheikh and Rav, both here and in the store of the trees, is disengaging the case from Yiush. He says, no, there's a siman. There's a siman on the fig trees, and a siman here on the Eitzim Avonim too. I'm not sure if I'm right if the Eitzim Avonim have a siman, or the other items that were medaik have a siman, but the concept is the same. That I still have to check. I'd really like to continue the next case. I'll be very nice and friendly. In 3 minutes, I'll be nice again. I'll be chozer b'tshuva. To shma, and I promise to you, I'll listen to tell you every question in 3 minutes. To shma. We just have to, Amud. To shma, keitzad omu. Next case, at least, is a hakdama for the morrow. When a person takes terumos umasros, you live in Eretz Yisrael and you take terumos umasros. Can I take terumos umasros from your fruit without asking you? I think you're not religious enough. I'm going to take your terumos umasros. You all know you're right. I can't take it without your permission. And if you're meshaleach me, if you appointed me as a shliach, then I can be your shliach. Very nice. Keitzad amu hatorim shalom midas terumos teruma. Trick question. Says the Mishnah. There is a case of a person who's toirem without the knowledge of the owner, and the truma applies. It's a good truma. Whoa! Is there a matzav of me going to Yosef's house, to Yosef's orchard? You have a big orchard, right? And take truma after it was cut, of course, and everything, and the truma would apply. How would that be? You didn't send me. A person went into his friend's field. At this moment, we think without permission. I came to the field of Mr. Of Rabbi Yosef. The liket, the Torah, Shelo B'Rshus, I collected. I did miruach, I did everything, and I was tired. I gave truma to Mr. Cohn without your permission. Okay. Im choishesh mishum gezel. If he is concerned that it's gezel, if he thinks that the balabais, had the balabais come here, he'll be all white-faced and egg on his face and feel I'm doing gzela. The balabais doesn't permit. And tumos a truma. The truma is not a truma. In other words, let's ask yourself an honest question, Mr. Uninvited Toirem. Yeah? If the balabais would come here, would you be happy, or would you like start stuttering and shaking in your pants? If you be shaking in your pants, then it's not a truma. It's against the will of the balabais. How can you work against his will and do halachic implications against him? Bimlav, truma se truma. Had the balabais been here, he would be happy, then the truma is a truma. Now these are all assumptions. You don't know human beings. Human beings are complex. Uminayin, I know it's one more minute. How do you know if the balabais is concerned because of a gezel or not? In other words, how do we know? We don't know. The different balabatim, different situations. How do you know really after the ma'aseh if it's a good truma or not? Says the Mishnah. We'll finish with that. Let's say balabais came afterwards and he caught him red-handed taking truma from these and those trees. The Omerloi, the balabais told him, go to the nicer ones. Why don't you take truma from the even nicer fruit? If really there are nicer fruit, you took from the middle stage, the middle quality, the sug beis and the sug aleph. And he says, why don't you take from sug aleph? Truma. Balabais shows not only is happy with what you did, he'd like you to take even from the nicer ones. Ideal picture, being love. However, if there aren't any nicer ones, and he says, why didn't you take from the nicer ones? There's a thing called sarcasm. Here is sarcasm in halacha. Sarcasm in halacha. That will be my YouTube title today. And truma. If the Baba goes, it's like, oh, good morning. Why don't you take from my even nicer ones? Meaning, and there are no nicer ones. That shows what? That shows he's unhappy. And retroactively, the truma is not a truma. He's just telling him sarcastically, get out of my field, you Mr. Frumi. Likto abaylim osif alen. Let's say the Bailim added more to the truma basket, beyodaim. Action speaks louder than words. Then the truma is always good. Now, the question which will come, we're stopping here, truma. The question will be now on Abayey. This is not about Yiush. This is now moving to other areas in halacha. What are we saying now? The Balabais now showed that gives his consent. But when I did it, he didn't give his consent. That's against Abayey. It's a kaskoma shalom Mida'as. It didn't yet kick in. That's going to be the question tomorrow. We're going to move from Yiush and extend it to other areas. And I will be very happy now to hear many questions. Have a great day. Atzlocha Abba. I don't remember who was first. I hope you took numbers.